2018 midterms arrived pretty quickly this afternoon. The president fired his attorney general, Jeff Sessions. For more than a year, the president has publicly criticized and ridiculed Sessions, so it was not very surprising. Now the president has assured the ability of replacing Sessions with a new appointment since Republicans held the Senate. Clearly, he saw no reason to keep him around. Now, in theory, going forward, Jeff Sessions could challenge Doug Jones in 2020 to reclaim the Alabama Senate seat that he gave up to serve the president as AG. If he did that, he'd almost certainly win. He's one of the most popular people in the state. We asked a source close to Sessions, and he said that's probably not going to happen, and Sessions will probably just retire into private life. And if he does that, of course, we will wish him the best, but it will be, and we should say this, a loss for the country. Donald Trump's long-shot presidential campaign succeeded because he promised what so many voters wanted, and yet what so few politicians were willing to campaign on because they are cowards. Among his many promises, the most important was his pledge to reverse decades of deliberate neglect and treat our national borders like they're real, like our country matters. Nobody understood that message better than Jeff Sessions. He understood it immediately. He was one of the president's first and most unwavering supporters, I think the first in the Senate, and it was because of immigration. When the president took office, he gave up an essentially lifetime post representing Alabama to help fulfill Trump's mission. Sadly, the country was going another way. Within about 5 minutes of the 2016 election, Democrats decided their defeat was not about immigration or an abandoned middle class. It was instead, you'll remember, about Russia and the conspiracy between Vladimir Putin and Trump. Now, Republicans said they didn't believe that story, and yet, for some reason, many of them allowed Democrats to reframe the entire political debate in the country and make Russia the single biggest issue in American politics. But Jeff Sessions did not fall for that. He never let himself get distracted from the mission at hand. While everyone else obsessed over dossiers and FISA warrants, Sessions worried about the mission he was hired to do. He introduced a zero-tolerance approach to immigration prosecution. He treated illegal entry into the United States as a crime because it is a crime. His DOJ issued new opinions to restrict the exploitation of asylum laws in this country. He fought to strip federal funding of sanctuary cities. Courts ruled against him, but he did everything he could to get those things done. His department accelerated the hiring of immigration judges. Didn't get a lot of attention, but it's a big deal. More cases can be heard and deportations can take place more quickly. That's a service to America and also, by the way, to the people being held. On DACA, Sessions' refusal to defend that program, which is unconstitutional, really induced the president to end the program. Sessions wasn't just effective in immigration, though. He rolled back the Obama administration's soft-on-crime policies across the board. He pursued tougher penalties for drug dealers. That earned the condemnation not just of liberals, but of wealthy libertarians who decided the war on drugs was a total disaster. This at a time when more people were dying every year of drug ODs than died during all of Vietnam. But the decadent decided, oh, it's immoral to prosecute drug dealing. Okay. The population knew differently because their relatives were dying. Of course, Sessions also ended the Obama administration's harassment of local law enforcement that had helped drive a surge in violent crime in major cities. If you live in one, you know what we're talking about. Sessions did all of this even as the president who appointed him attacked him in public. Those attacks started more than a year ago. After one of the president's public rebukes, we traveled with Sessions just by chance to El Salvador, where he was pushing a fight against MS-13. Sessions made it clear he was in the cabinet to get results and would serve as long as the president would have him. He has said again and again in many different forums throughout this barrage that you should have acted differently. You should have not recused yourself from oversight of the Russian investigation. Do you agree with that?
Well, you know, I understand his feelings about it because this has been a big distraction for him. But Tucker, I talked to experts in the Department of Justice, people who are trained in that. I'm confident I made the right decision.
You said the criticism was hurtful, and the president has made it really clear that he doesn't seem to want you to run the Department of Justice. Will you continue to run it?
Well, he can make that clear at any time. I serve at the pleasure of the president. Yes. If he wants to make a change, he can certainly do so, and I would be glad to yield in that circumstance, no doubt about it.
Sessions wasn't perfect, obviously. He never seemed like an especially good administrator of a large agency. He sometimes got rolled by his staff. The Russian investigations have shown that FBI and DOJ are deeply politicized, and Sessions never seemed to fully get a handle on the permanent bureaucracy beneath them. But if you take 3 steps back, here's what you see. In an administration beset with constant leaks and infighting and people looking out for themselves and only themselves, Sessions was maybe one of the very few people who never forgot why he was there, to make America a better country. We can only hope that his replacement will do the same.
So a lot of people would look at Jeff Sessions' time at the Justice Department and say that he was very tough on immigration, very tough on law enforcement. So they look at that and say the only reason the president didn't like him was because he recused himself.
Well, look, I appreciate Senator Sessions' service to our country, but we called for a special counsel more than a year ago and have repeatedly called for it since then, and Mr. Sessions won't appoint one. I don't like special counsels, but you tell me how we get the answers from what the FBI and the DOJ did, particularly about the Russian investigation. How are they going to investigate themselves? So we don't know what's going on over there. He won't appoint a special counsel, and we said a long time ago, if you're not willing to do that, you should probably step down. I think it was appropriate, the action that was taken today by the President of the United States. Remember, Martha, he appointed John Huber, the U.S. Attorney, to look into a lot of this. We have not got one single report from Mr. Huber about what he's done. Where is that? Where's that information? This happened months and months ago when he named John Huber, the U.S. Attorney from Utah, to look into this. We haven't heard one thing, so I think this is the right move today.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Mark Whitaker will be the acting Attorney General, sort of leapfrogging over Rod Rosenstein, who is Deputy Attorney General. So 2 questions with that. Do you think that Mark Whitaker will release the 19-page FISA surveillance warrant that was signed by Rod Rosenstein, and will he do it before the turnover of power?
Well, let's hope so. I mean, we need that information. We need the Bruce Orr 302s. We need the Jim Baker 302s. We need the Andy McCabe memos. We need all that information. And probably more importantly, we need Rod Rosenstein to come answer our questions. Did you, in fact, talk about wearing a wire to record the president? Did you talk about the 25th Amendment, as has been alleged? Did you do those things? Come answer our questions. So we need all that information. We've repeatedly asked for it. I certainly hope this new Attorney General, the acting Attorney General, will do that. We'll find out, I assume, here in the next several weeks. All
right. It's Matthew Whitaker. I said Mark, so I apologize for that. Let's get to the politics of last night, the elections and the changes that brings with it. Let me just play this montage from some of the Democrats who will now be in leadership positions, and want to get your thoughts on where they may be headed.
I'm one of just a few who have insisted that he's unworthy, that he's deplorable, that he's despicable, and he should be impeached.
We would have to investigate any credible allegations, certainly of perjury and other things that haven't been properly looked into before.
When the Democrats take over, hopefully in January, that we'll have hearings and then we'll get to the bottom line.
And that work won't stop when we take the majority, but we will be able to get answers the Republicans were unwilling to pursue. Records that the Republicans wouldn't ask for.
What do you anticipate? And also, do you expect that you will become the ranking member of the House Oversight Committee?
Well, we're looking at all kinds of things. I've also talked about running for, announced that I'm running for minority leader, so we'll see. But we know one thing, they are going to investigate everything. It will be not, you don't have to take my word for it, take their words as you just played. They are going to do this. And what I'm concerned most about is the thing we were just talking about. The idea that the Clinton campaign paid a law firm who paid Fusion GPS, who hired a foreigner who talked to Russians to put together a fake document called a dossier that was used as a basis to spy on President Trump's campaign. The idea that that investigation will be dropped. That was the worst thing I'd ever seen from a federal government. The idea that that will be dropped to do all these other things that Maxine Waters and Jerry Nadler and Elijah Cummings and Adam Schiff are talking about, that's a concern, and we're going to have to stand up strong for the truth as we go through these investigations that inevitably will come from the Democrat chairs of those respective committees.
Well, you just mentioned that you are also interested in being House Minority Leader. Kevin McCarthy has expressed an interest in that position as well. He said, I helped build a majority from a deeper hole than this, and I have what it takes to do it again. He is in a strong position here, one would think. He has a good relationship with President Trump. Talk to me a little bit about why you think you have a better position.
Here's what I'll say, Martha. Look, President Trump was elected to come to this town and shake it up. He is doing just that. He's coming here and doing what he told the American people he was going to do. I think the House Republican Conference should match that same intensity. Have we repealed Obamacare yet? Have we reformed welfare yet? Have we secured the border yet? There's lots of things we got to get done yet. I think that had an impact on what took place just yesterday in the election. Now, one thing I also know is where President Trump went, there were good results. So, look, we got to match his intensity. That's what I want to do. And if I'm given the opportunity to lead our conference, I'll do that. If it's in a different role, if it's ranking member in one of these committees, I'll do that as well.
You know, we talked a moment ago about the deadline that now hangs over your head on all of these issues that you've worked very hard on oversight. How optimistic are you that you're going to get anywhere? You know, if you could accomplish one or two things before January, what would it be?
Those documents we just talked about, that we've demanded, that we have the right to see as a separate and equal branch of government, and Rod Rosenstein under oath in front of us in the Judiciary Committee answering those important questions. Did you in fact talk to subordinates about wearing a wire and recording the President of the United States? Did you in fact talk about the 25th Amendment? This is the acting, until today, this was the guy in essence running the Justice Department, the guy overseeing the Mueller probe. We need to know that, particularly, Martha, because it happened in a critical time period. May 9th, 2017, when James Comey was fired based on Rod Rosenstein's memo, and May 17th, 2017, when Bob Mueller was named special counsel by Rod Rosenstein. This is all alleged to have happened in that 8-day time frame when they were talking about obstruction of justice, when they were talking about wearing a wire, the 25th Amendment, and appointment of a special counsel. He needs to come answer our questions.
I got to go, but do you think Rod Rosenstein will keep his position as Deputy AG?
That's up to the president. I don't know. I just want him to answer our questions and give us the information we're entitled to have.